When you think of brass instruments, what do you think of? Most people think of those big honking tubas, those little tiny trumpets just blaring away in like a jazz or concert band making toot noises. But have you ever wondered what goes into making toot noises? Today I will be showing you the anatomy of a euphonium, which is part of the brass instrument family, as well as some warm-up techniques that I do before I play. So I've been playing my euphonium Bertha since 8th grade. I've received 3 Division I solos, which are the highest division you can get, and I've been part of the Iowa All-State and the Southeast Iowa Regional Bands, both of which you had to audition for first. So let's get started with the anatomy of Bertha. So Bertha, like many brass instruments, has a bell up here at the top. And then this is her mouthpiece. In trumpets, these can be really small, and in French horns. And in tubas, they're like twice this size. And then the mouthpiece goes into this lead pipe right here. And then she has valves. Some euphoniums and trumpets have 3 of these. And then some euphoniums have like 3 and then a 4th one here. But Bertha has 3 and a 4th one right here. In the case of a French horn, they only have 3, but they're longer, and then you use your hand to make sounds too, so it's kind of like a 4th valve. And then with Bertha's valves, they have tuning slides that you can also pull out and drain some condensation out of. And then the main tuning slides, here and here, there are little water keys that you blow out and drain after you're done playing. And then this is the main tube. So now that we know the anatomy of my euphonium Bertha, let's work on some warm-ups. So the first part of a warm-up is getting good air. Now for this, I like to do breathing exercises, but because people have bad lungs, we'll just stick to the piece of paper. So what I want you to do is hold your piece of paper out about a foot in front of you, but I want you to force air through your lips that are really tight, like you're blowing like a raspberry but without your tongue. So here we go, this is the first one. See how you had to use a lot of force only to get a little bit of the paper to move? And if I do this on the mouthpiece, it sounds even worse. Kind of sounds like a dying whale, right? This is what most young brass players would do because they don't know to let the instrument do the work. They think they have to put all the effort into it. And honestly, this is what I used to do. But now, I learned the right way to do it. So now I want you to take your paper again, and I want you to just blow air out in an O, and just let your lungs do the work. See how much more the paper moved that time, and how much less effort you have to do? People think that you have to use muscle to get the best result, but not in the case of brass instruments. You just have to let the air flow. And if I do it in the mouthpiece, you can tell the difference. See how my pitch stayed constant instead of my volume compared to the dying whale sounds? And this is magnified by Bertha because brass instruments are like a giant megaphone for sounds that come out of the mouthpiece. So whenever you do buzzing, you're actually helping the start of your notes, and it can actually help in the slightest, and that slightest might be just enough to put you over the edge for a solo. Because what you do here reflects what you do here. So now that we've learned about proper airflow, let's do some more buzzing. So I have 3 different things that I do for buzzing. I do just tone pitch, which is like ear training, and then I do lip slurs, and then I do tonguing exercises. So for the notes, I just pick some random notes, and I try to see if I can move down whole or half steps and just get my ear trained to see if I need to move my mouth, because your mouth moves before your tuning slides. So then once I'm happy with the pitch, I move on to lip slurs, which since Bertha only has 3 little valves, instead of a clarinet that may have like 14 different buttons, she has the same combinations for many different notes. So you have to use your lips to distinguish whether you want the high one or the low one. And these can be very close intervals, like within a third of each other, which on a piano is like this much space. So I have to really use my lips, and that's what these lip slurs do. So what I do is I start on a note, and then I go down an octave and back up, because that's easy for me to think about. And this whole time, I'm just trying to relax my diaphragm, bring in as much air as possible, and relax my lips. You have to get them warmed up, because warm metal makes a nicer sound. And it's also easier to start and stop notes with the warm metal. Which brings me to my last one, which is tonguing exercises. So there are 3 different methods of tonguing that I use. There is double tonguing, like D tonguing, which is long tonguing, and then T tonguing, which is like your staccato notes, like if you're beating a drum or like picking a string on an instrument. So first is the D tonguing. See how the notes are long and you can't really distinguish where they stop and start? This would be if a note has like a legato sign on it, or if there's like a diminuendo, you'll want to use D instead of T, because T makes a harsher sound. And here's T. This would be used if like the note has, like there's a railroad track, have you ever seen that? Where it's 2 lines and it tells you to stop immediately, so you don't want to just trail off, you want to just stop. Or like if you see the little tent that's like an accent note, you'd want to use a T to start it, because accents mean that you attack it hard with a lot of air and a lot of dynamic. So then there's double tonguing. I use this for 16th, 32nd, and triplet notes. So 16th and 32nd notes have 2 or 3 lines underneath them. And then the triplets they look like regular like branches, but then they have the 3 underneath them. So it's actually 3 notes in one beat, which is kind of awkward. And I'm actually using the front and back of my tongue, so this is kind of hard to master. It took me like 3 or 4 months to master it, but it really pays off and it doesn't go away easily. So once you get it, it's worth it. So now that we're all buzzing masters, let's go over what we learned today. So first, we learned the anatomy of Bertha from head to toe, and then I taught you about proper airflow, proper buzzing techniques, and proper tonguing techniques. Now I hope you'll take this and become a brass master next time you find yourself behind a brass instrument. And so let's kick some brass.